Salade Lyonnaise. I have a hard time saying that properly, but I'm great at making it and I'm even better at eating it. It features 3 of my favorite things: bitter greens, cured pork, and a soft-cooked egg. Now, this salad features FRISEE, and that's what I have here. This is about a 6-ounce head, and it's delicious. It's also really easy to prepare. I'm gonna start with a pair of scissors. And all I'm looking to do here is to cut this into bite-sized pieces. You could tear this if you wanted to, but I think shears make it a lot easier. So I'll set this aside and I will wash these in a second, but before I do, let's get to the other greens. I've got chicory here to add a little complexity and some vibrancy to the salad, and you'll need about 5 ounces. You're just going to rip it up into bite-sized pieces. I kind of ditched the thick woody stem. It's not great. Right, so this is the last of it. Next up is the pork. Now, if I were in Lyon, I'd be using a local cured pork belly called ventrèche, but since I'm not, the closest I can find is pancetta. It makes a great substitute. This is about 5 ounces of pancetta, and I'm just cutting it into thirds. Instead of buying the pre-cut stuff, I went to the deli and I asked for a nice slab of it. It'll just cook up a lot nicer. And then cutting it into about 1/4-inch thick pieces. This pork is going right into a 10-inch nonstick skillet, and I am gonna go wash my hands. Now, instead of just frying this, I'm actually gonna cook this using a 2-step method. First, I'm gonna add 2 cups of water and bring this to a boil over medium-high heat. Now, what I want to happen here is I want to cook this kind of gently, and I want to pull some of the excess salt out of there, otherwise the lardons are going to eat a little too salty for this salad. So I'm just going to wait for this to come up to a boil, and then I'll set a 5-minute timer. So while I'm waiting for this to come up to a boil, I'm going to go wash those greens. So now that this has come up to a boil, I'm going to set a 5-minute timer, and we'll just let that hang out and cook. So it's been 5 minutes. I'm gonna shut that off, grab a strainer, and get rid of all of that extra water. Now that the pancetta is cooked, I just wanna fry it up very gently. I'm not looking for a ton of color. And what I've got is 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I just wanna add a little bit of texture to the exterior. And this time we're cooking at just medium-low heat. I wanna give this couple of stirs occasionally. It should take about 5 minutes to get the right color on here, and it's a very light brown. So while this is going, I need to mince a shallot for the vinaigrette. So this shallot's a little bit large, and I only need a tablespoon, so I'm only gonna cut up about half of this. So I'm using the heel of my palm to hold the shallot steady, and I don't want to push really hard on there because that'll make it difficult to get the knife through. You just want to hold the shallot in place as you draw the knife through the shallot. And then I'm using the heel of my knife and then come back across. And that is definitely more than a tablespoon. Right, so this looks great. The pancetta is just slightly browned, and that's perfect. If we let it get too much darker, that pancetta is gonna get kind of tough. Now, this is a lot of fat, and we don't, I wanna eat it, but we shouldn't eat it. That'll be too much. I'm just gonna drain it off, and I wanna use 2 tablespoons of this fat for the dressing. And I'm building that dressing right in this pan. So I wanna add a tablespoon of that shallot. And I'm just gonna cook this really gently for about 30 seconds. It's just gonna pull that raw edge off of the allium. Now, to help this cool off a little bit so that the shallots don't get too dark, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And the last ingredient for our dressing is some Dijon mustard. I'm using 4 teaspoons, and it's just gonna add a nice bit of heat to kind of brighten up this salad. And I'll just stir this in. I'm not looking to get it fully emulsified or anything. It's not that kind of dressing. It just needs to be really well mixed. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Not perfectly uniform, but that's okay. While this is still nice and hot, I'm gonna pour it directly onto our FRISEE. The warm dressing is going to wilt that FRISEE and soften it, tenderize it. It's gonna be great. Just give this a quick toss. Great, so this will hang out right here and we'll start working on the last component of this salad, the soft cooked eggs. So for our soft poached eggs, I've got 6 cups of water going in that Dutch oven back there, and I'm just waiting for it to come up to a boil. While I wait, I'm gonna prep the eggs. So I've got 2 eggs here. I'm just gonna crack them into this colander. What's happening is there are 2 different types of whites in an egg. There's kind of the loose, runny white, and then there's the thicker stuff that kind of cradles the yolk. And what I want is to ditch all of that runny stuff, because as soon as that hits the water, it kind of spreads really quickly, it feathers, and it's stringy. It's a little tough. It's just not pleasant to eat. So instead of trying to contain it, I'm just gonna ditch it. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds for the eggs to drain. This is looking pretty good. So I'll just carefully tilt this into a measuring cup. And now we just wait for our water to come up to a boil. So step 1, shut off the heat. You don't actually want to boil these eggs. Next, we want to make sure that that water is seasoned. So I'm using a teaspoon of table salt here. And then to help the whites set up quickly so that there's even less spreading, just in case I missed any of that loose white, I'm adding a tablespoon of distilled vinegar. I'm just going to take these eggs, and I want this spout to be just above the surface level of the water so that the eggs don't have far to fall. By using a measuring cup to add the eggs to the water, I can make sure there's a lot of space between each one so they don't run together. Next up, lid goes on. 3-minute timer, and they'll be perfect. So it's been 3 minutes. Let's have a peek. These look great. That white is nice and compact. It's firm to the touch, and my yolks are still very tender. I like a really runny yolk, so I tend to kind of go easy on the cook. So let's get these eggs out of that water so they don't overcook. And I want to give these a nice blot, make sure they're dry because nobody needs a watery salad. Great. So, last step. You can see that our frisee is still, it does not look wilted for all that it's been hanging out with the warm dressing. And I'm going to add the chicory now. It's important to add the chicory at the last minute because it will start to wilt, and we don't want that. Nice toss. If you have a nice, pretty wooden salad bowl, a big one, this is the time to use it. I'm just looking for the chicory to be nice and dressed. The frisee is great as it is. And this looks pretty good. I'm gonna give it a quick taste. Oh, it's so good, but it could use a little bit of salt and pepper. While I'm at this, I'm gonna season those eggs as well. Okay, let's eat. Doesn't that look awesome? So the best part of this salad is that first bite because you get to break into that yolk, nice and runny, and it's just an extra bit of richness for the greens. This is so good. The richness of the yolk and that pancetta really cuts the bitterness of the greens, and you get this kind of tingle of heat from the mustard and pepper. Oh, I love this salad. For a fantastic salad lyonnaise, be sure to poach your pancetta, tenderize the tougher greens with a warm dressing, and add your delicate greens at the very last minute. So from America's Test Kitchen at home, an amazing salad lyonnaise.
Thanks for watching. You can get all the recipes and product reviews from this season and more on our website. That's americastestkitchen.com/TV. Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.